one more time. Disney has just announced that Jimmy Kimmel will return to television tomorrow, saying in a statement last Wednesday, we made the decision to suspend production on the show to avoid further inflaming a tense situation.
That's right. After ABC pulled the plug on him for remarks that sent the internet into a full-blown meltdown mode, Kimmel is reclaiming his late-night throne. But before we roll out the welcome mat, let's rewind. What did Jimmy actually say that nearly nuked his career? And how did he pull off one of the most savage comebacks late night has ever seen? Buckle up, because this story has everything: controversy, comedy, and a free speech showdown that'll have you glued to your screen. Let's cut to the chase. Here's the line that blew up the internet.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them, and doing everything they can to score political points from it. In between the finger pointing, there was grieving. On Friday, the White House flew the flags at half-staff, which got some criticism.
It started as classic Kimmel, sharp, irrelevant, and towing the line. But then he took it too far. His monologue morphed into a roast of how political figures were reacting to the issue. And just when you thought he'd let up, he made things worse with a follow-up punchline.
But on a human level, you can see how hard the president is taking this.
My condolences on the loss of your friend Charlie Kirk. May I ask, sir, personally, how are you holding up over the last day and a half, sir?
I think very good. And by the way, right there, you see all the trucks? They've just started construction of the new ballroom for the White House, which is something they've been trying to get, as you know, for about 150 years. And it's going to be a beauty.
Yes. He's at the fourth stage of grief: construction. Demolition, construction. This is not how an adult grieves the murder of someone he called a friend. This is how a 4-year-old mourns a goldfish.
1 second it's a monologue, the next it's a full-blown HR meeting.
There are many people that disagree, and that's the risk of giving your opinion, because typically talk show hosts don't give their opinions, but times have changed drastically.
Disney called his remarks offensive and insensitive. Basically, Jimmy told a joke and the mouse said, nope.
I talk about what's happening in the news that day, and sometimes things touch you personally, and sometimes things really hit home. And, you know, I started in radio. I did a morning radio show. We always spoke about things and opinions and whatever we wanted to speak about, so it's really more a return to that approach to broadcast.
Now let's talk about Jimmy's time in what some call comedy jail. No, he wasn't in an orange jumpsuit cracking knock-knock jokes to his cellmate, but he was pulled from TV, which for a late-night host is basically the same thing.
Yeah, no, I don't feel under attack, really. I mean, I think there's a response to every attack, and...
But if we're being honest, a lot of people saw it coming. Even George Clooney, Hollywood's silver fox and oracle of good judgment, predicted it.
You know that theory about you don't have to be faster than the bear, you just have to be faster than the one kid?
Then this happened.
Yeah. Trump is a big fan of yours. I don't know if you've seen this, but he posted in July. So now fake movie actor George Clooney.
Here's the thing. Unlike cable news, broadcast stations like ABC are regulated by the FCC. That means if they cross certain lines, offend too many people, or break decency rules, their licenses can be revoked. And while the FCC didn't come knocking this time, Disney made sure everyone knew they weren't thrilled with Jimmy's antics. Private employers have every right to hold their employees accountable for conduct that reflects poorly on their brand. And let's face it, when your boss is a billion-dollar mouse who moonlights as America's moral compass, you're playing with fire every time you push the boundaries.
Now, truth be told, Jimmy Kimmel's show was failing spectacularly. I've seen the ratings.
This is late night. We hope you're doing well.
We should have gotten canceled years ago.
Just sending out some tweets.
This wasn't just a slap on the wrist situation. The FCC stepped in, wagging their regulatory finger at ABC, and even threatened consequences if the network didn't act fast. But while all this was going on, Hollywood went full gladiator mode.
It's Jimmy Kimmel, free speech, cancel culture, and if you want to talk about what's going on, but you also want to keep your job, here's some advice.
Over 400 actors, directors, and musicians signed an open letter condemning the suspension as a dangerous attack on free speech. The Writers Guild and SAG joined the chorus. And rival late-night hosts? Yep, even the guys who usually trade jabs with Kimmel said, silencing Jimmy? Not cool. Whoopi Goldberg wasn't having it either.
I really think we weren't going to talk about Jimmy Kimmel? I mean, have you watched the show over the last 29 seasons? So you know, no one silences us.
And she wasn't the only one.
The horrible, senseless assassination of Charlie Kirk, a man I disagreed with, but who stood for debate, who stood for freedom of speech, is being used to silence people and cancel people.
Freedom of speech undergirds our democracy, and our founders were very, very clear on that. Our founders drafted the First Amendment specifically to protect the rights of citizens to criticize the government. Thomas Jefferson, in particular, said the citizens must be able to criticize public officials because, quote, they will try to impose their own opinions and modes of thinking on others, end quote.
We are all Jimmy Kimmel.
There was a lot of solidarity on late night TV last night.
It is a privilege and an honor to call Jimmy Kimmel my friend.
From A-list actors to indie directors, it seemed like everyone had something to say. Celebrities piled on, pundits weighed in, and Twitter practically caught fire with hot takes. The backlash grew so loud, ABC had to make a choice: stand firm or admit they blinked. And well, they blinked. 6 days after pulling the plug, the network reversed course and announced Kimmel would return to his late-night throne.
Well, just a few hours before we taped this broadcast, we got word that our long national late nightmare is over. Because Disney announced that Jimmy Kimmel Live will return to air on ABC tomorrow.
They called it a result of thoughtful conversations, and you can almost feel the executives sweating through their suits as they made that statement. But not everyone hopped back on the Jimmy train. Sinclair stations, known for marching to the beat of their own drum, said, "Nah, we're out." So in some parts of the country, viewers won't see Jimmy at all. And what does that mean for them? Probably more reruns of Cops and endless debates about why their cousins in Los Angeles won't shut up about Jimmy's monologue. But at least late night is back to business as usual. Jimmy roasting politicians, politicians fuming, and viewers laughing so hard they forget they were mad 5 minutes ago.
The UN says they think it was Trump's own videographer that accidentally kicked a safety mechanism, but Agatha Christie and his team of defective detectives.
But here's the thing. This whole ordeal wasn't just about a tasteless joke or whether Jimmy Kimmel crossed some imaginary line. It's about something bigger. Who gets to decide what's too far? Think about it. If comedians can't roast politicians after a tragedy, then late night becomes what? An hour of polite weather updates? The truth is, comedy has always been about poking at power, even if it stings a little. That's what makes it funny. It's supposed to make us uncomfortable, sometimes because laughter is often born from discomfort. And let's face it, if we're only allowed safe jokes, we're basically asking comedians to do dad jokes for an hour straight. And trust me, nobody wants that. Freedom of speech matters, but so does freedom of laughter. And many are of the opinion that since we are in a world where everything feels heavy, politics, tragedies, endless scrolling through bad news, we need comedy to lighten the load. According to them, we need someone like Jimmy Kimmel to remind us that even in chaos, there's room for humor.
Massive issue, and you know, the president being frozen there in one place makes him vulnerable.
Yeah. Unless he can walk, then...
Jimmy Kimmel didn't become the guy who almost got pulled for nothing. From biting humor to savage roasts, Kimmel's career has been built on sharp comebacks that leave audiences laughing, gasping, and occasionally wondering if he's got a death wish.
Well, Jimmy Kimmel was fired because he had bad ratings more than anything else, and he said a horrible thing about a great gentleman known as Charlie Kirk. And Jimmy Kimmel is not a talented person. He had very bad ratings, and they should have fired him a long time ago. So, you can call that free speech or not. He was fired for lack of talent.
I just got a review, and has there ever been a worse host than Jimmy Kimmel at the Oscars? His opening was that of a less than average person trying too hard to be something which he is not and never can be. Get rid of Kimmel and perhaps replace him with another washed up but cheap ABC talent.
Take the old myth about George Washington's wooden teeth. Most people hear it, chuckle politely, and move on. But Jimmy, he grabs hold of it, twists it into comedy gold, and then he throws it back at you with a wink.
From none other than the Italian stallion himself.
When George Washington defended his country, he had no idea that he was going to change the world. Because without him, you can imagine what the world would look like. Guess what? We got the second George Washington. Congratulations! punches Rocky took to the head were real after all.
He also added that George Washington had wooden teeth. Trump's are just spray tanned. Jimmy Kimmel once posted a question that almost landed him in trouble.
Donald Trump's one thing, but it is absolutely astonishing to see these ridiculous Republicans desperately fawning over him, trying to get his attention and win his love. There are a lot of them. There are hundreds, maybe even thousands, but only 5 of them honored His Majesty so parasitically this week, they earned a nomination for the coveted title of Golden Groveler. And the nominees are Laura Trump.
When history looks back on this time in America, I do believe that it will be Donald Trump and Elon Musk who were reflected as 2 of the saviors of this country and really of the entire world.
General Pam Bondi.
We all work for the greatest president in the history of our country. We are so proud to work at the directive of Donald Trump.
Tongue work this week, but only one can win, and the Golden Groveler goes to Laura Trump.
And then there's his legendary response to Donald Trump calling him one of the dumbest human beings ever.
I also want to point out the Oscars were more than 6 months ago. He's still stewing over this joke. He keeps bringing it up, which I don't mind at all. In fact, I love it. I just wish he would quote it correctly. I didn't say, ha, 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 he thinks he bothers me. What I said was this. I just got a review and...
But Jimmy, did he take that lying down? Not a chance.
Number one thing people asked me about this summer was what happened to Stephen Colbert at CBS. CBS, all of a sudden, out of the blue, claimed The Late Show was losing $40 million a year and then miraculously got FCC approval to sell their company, which is what they wanted. And I guess that wasn't enough for El Presidente because he posted, the word is, and it's a strong word at that, Jimmy Kimmel is next to go.
And let's not forget the message he sent straight to the people managing Trump's TV in the White House.
If you're the White House intern in charge of strategically unplugging the president's TV, that'll be a good night to do it.
If you thought late night hosts were just here for light laughs, Jimmy's here to remind you they can throw punches too.
And Donald Trump said sit down so many times. I thought it might be interesting if we showed that clip to dogs to see what they do. Will they listen to Donald Trump and sit? Well, let's find out.
Excuse me, sit down. You weren't called. Sit down. Sit down. Sit down. Go ahead. Excuse me, sit down. You weren't called. Sit down. Sit down.
Only the white dog sat down, by the way.
But Kimmel's roasting resume doesn't stop at politicians. Oh no, his feud with Matt Damon is practically late-night folklore.
And tonight, in the spirit of healing and bringing people together, I would like to bury the hatchet with someone I've had issues with. I would. Matt Damon. Now, Matt, I've known Matt for a long time now. You know what? I've known Matt so long. When I first met Matt, I was the fat one. Okay?
Damon's been bumped so many times, he's probably still waiting in the green room with cold pizza and a bruised ego.
Jimmy Fallon is a better talk show host than Jimmy Kimmel.
Obviously, all day long. Jimmy Kimmel.
No.
Sorry. Wow.
Come on, I got to fight for Kimmel here.
Gross.
Wow. I think there's a little bit of bitterness, right?
What is it about Fallon that you love?
Well, you know, it's kind of like the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Yes,
you know?
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, Jimmy's Fallon is incredibly talented. He's
I have
amazing.
to fight for Kimmel though, because he used to be my neighbor.
My opinion of him slightly softened when I heard that he was paying his entire staff through the writer's strike out of his
that's so nice.
At this point, savage comebacks are Jimmy's cardio. He doesn't need a treadmill. He just needs an audience. Whether he's mocking Trump's pronunciations,
The state of California passed an outrageous law declaring their whole state to be a sanctuary. In the failing New York Times by an anonymous, more Americans could receive heart, lung, and liver transplants.
mocking his hairstyle.
This is from Friday. Trump is getting on Air Force One, headed to Mar-a-Lago for the weekend, and his hair tried to fly to Mar-a-Lago.
Or calling out politicians by name.
Kim Jong-un reportedly brought his own personal toilet with him to Beijing For real, that's not a joke. This is, there he is, Kim Jong-un in Beijing. He travels with a toilet.
Jimmy has always been the guy who says what everyone else is thinking, but with a twist that makes you laugh out loud.
Donald Trump still thinks he's got the power to anoint and appoint comedians in the country in private media broadcasts, but at least ABC is on the right side now.
Jimmy Kimmel has a long-running fascination with Senator Ted Cruz, and when Cruz makes headlines, well, Jimmy usually has something locked and loaded.
It's interesting, with all the attention Trump sucks up, you forget some of the other suck-ups who also suck, like Sweaty Teddy Cruz, who popped up on Newsmax yesterday to show off his authentic and not at all unconvincing accent.
What a disgusting, racist bigot J.D. Pritzker is. You and I are both Latino.
Oh, was that Ted Cruz or Danny Trejo?
Usually Jimmy just lets it hang there because, honestly, Cruz kind of does the joke for him. For Elon Musk, Jimmy doesn't have to reach far. He just leans in and says what everyone else is thinking.
The biggest flip of the day belongs to Elon Musk. On Friday, Trump gave Elon Musk the key to the White House, and I guess you better change the locks because today Musk had something very nasty to say about Trump's big, beautiful bill. He wrote, "I'm sorry, but I just can't stand it anymore. This massive, outrageous, pork-filled congressional spending bill is a disgusting abomination. Shame on those who voted for it. You know you did wrong. You know it." Boy, when he's off the ketamine, he is a lot less fun.
Of course, he doesn't stop there. Jimmy's got a long list of recurring roast targets. He tends to go after big-name figures who are either controversial, overly serious, or just naturally set themselves up for jokes. One time he asked Tom Brady an inappropriate question.
Is it true that the real camaraderie, the real teamwork happens in the shower?
That is totally inappropriate.
That is inappropriate. Okay, I'm so sorry.
Jimmy Kimmel has also made jokes about DeSantis.
A lot of these far-right lunatics have this idea that the Democratic Party is run by lizard people. Have you ever heard that? And it always sounded insane to me until...
When I'm president, this will never happen to our country ever again.
Thank you, Governor DeSantis.
I will keep the faith that I will finish the race. Thank you, and God bless you. I don't think men should be going into little girls' bathrooms. I think it's wrong.
Love him or not, you watch because you know he's going to say something that makes headlines. Let's be honest, most of us tune in for the drama as much as the comedy. So imagine banning savage jokes on late-night TV. It would be like banning touchdowns in football. It would be pointless and, frankly, way less fun.
One of the weirdest things that happened while we were off the air, there were a flood of AI videos that were designed to look like real recordings of me. And please, don't worry about me being permanently taken off the air or even completely rejected by the platform. I will respect their decision, but I will not let it completely defeat me. Taking risks is part of the consequence, and I will accept it. Goodbye, my audience.
Late night thrives on sharp wit, biting humor, and occasionally, did he really just say that? Moments. And in the case of Jimmy Kimmel, viewers are already counting down his inevitable comeback.
Jimmy Kimmel!
But let's pause for a second. This isn't just a return to the stage, it's a signal, a message that resonates beyond the confines of late-night comedy. Networks learned the hard way that silencing comedians doesn't go unnoticed. Viewers learned that making noise actually changes things. And Jimmy learned, well, probably nothing. He'll be back doing exactly what got him suspended in the first place. But that's the point. Comedy is supposed to test limits. If there's no risk, there's no reward. And if Jimmy's career proves anything, it's that people might hate what you say, but they'll always tune in to see what you'll say next. So when the lights come up, when the mic is on, when the cameras roll, Jimmy Kimmel will be back. Some will cheer, some will boycott him with hashtags and angry tweets, and somewhere in America, a Sinclair affiliate will air a rerun of Wheel of Fortune instead. But the message is clear, Jimmy was cancelled, then uncancelled, and somehow his comeback feels bigger than the suspension itself. Why? Because it reminds us of something simple yet profound. When it comes to the last laugh, comedy always wins.